training, a lot of what we want to be doing is figuring out how to get the most benefit for multiple different characteristics and traits while minimizing the time in the gym. And one of those is definitely going to be coming down to like flexibility, mobility, prehab, injury prevention, things like that. Those are typically the most boring things that we can be doing in the gym. No one really wants to sit around stretching for 30 to 45 minutes before they get into like the actual fun stuff of their workout. So getting clever and creative with how we're actually approaching mobility training is important, not only for our enjoyment, but also our ability to stay injury-free long term. And one of the ways that we can do that is actually combining mobility work with hypertrophy work. So getting kind of the best of both worlds, and that hybridization is going to increase the efficiency, our time in the gym, and also our ability to get more out of the movements that we're doing. So there are a lot of different ways that we can incorporate mobility work into hypertrophy work, but one of the easier ways that we can do it is just thinking about body weight movements. So what type of body weight movements can we do that are going to kind of cross over to both of those spectrums? So you can do things like single leg movements, you can do some kind of like plank variations that require some like dynamic movements as well. But for upper body, a lot of that is going to come down to shoulder movement and how we're actually going to be interacting with our scapulae and how that is going to carry over into our ability to go overhead with our overhead pressing mobility, because a lot of people are going to be really restricted there. So we can start there and we can kind of branch out. One of the easiest ways that we can go about this is doing something like a prone overhead press. So a prone overhead press, for people that aren't familiar with that, is literally where you're going to be in a prone position. You're going to start here, or you can go with a neutral grip. I think a neutral grip might actually be a little bit better. And you just press overhead like you would with a dumbbell or barbell. But here, the resistance is actually gravity as you're extending further out and you're lengthening your levers. So I'm pressing up, and as I'm pressing, I'm actually having to combine two movements. So I'm pressing this way, and I'm actually thinking about bringing my arms up like that. Otherwise, I end up doing this. So it's kind of multifactorial there, pressing up and out that capacity. So that's working my upper back, that's working my delts, and it's also improving my mobility kind of slowly and indirectly, but still really forcing that component to work hard. Another way that we can do that is called around the worlds, and probably a lot of different ways to actually call this movement or to name it, but around the worlds is probably the easiest way for me to visualize it and me to explain it. So gonna be back in that prone position here, and we're gonna start with our arms out to our sides. And we're just gonna move them up and down, kind of like we're swimming. So here, bring them up, and then back down. Up, and then back down. So this is getting a ton of movement through our shoulders and through our scaps, while also training our mid-upper back and training our delts, because we're getting a ton of metabolic stress there just from the resistance of gravity wanting to force our arms down. So being able to combine those types of movements, it's not necessarily the most fun. We're not in here like, swinging around 100-pound dumbbells, but incorporating something like that into like an upper body or a delt-focused day, it has crossover effects to where we might be training our upper back, we might be training our delts, but we're also training our mobility that's gonna carry over into maybe an overhead press that we're gonna be doing later on. So figuring out how to be creative with application and programming is crucial for your ability to stay healthy in the gym, but also to not be in the gym for undue amounts of time and making sure that we are efficient in the time that we are in the gym.